hearings. Okay. All right. So try something a bit different. Because, they have the UFO hearings yesterday. Well, now it's Friday, but anyway, it was Wednesday. And I didn't really pay that much attention to who was going to be speaking. And on Wednesday, I realized that it didn't look like there was much of anything. But anyway, so aside of that, the term breakaway civilizations has been coming up kind of like at that UFO hearing. Um, how they're talking off camera and all that, whatever that might be. Or the CIA is involved with that whole conversation or whatever. Bunch of hot air. But it does come back down to a shadow government. I've been calling it more breakaway civilization. Of course, it goes into space programs and all that. But trying to be a little bit more grounded about it. Of course, think of like NASA, NSA, obviously CIA in other countries. I believe NASA's in other countries too. You're just not going to hear about it here, obviously, right? It's the secret, whatever. Either way, we're going to just do an intuitive tapping in. There's not much you can really prove physically on any of this, obviously. Well, yeah, I mean, if you can, you probably won't be making this video or live for that matter. Or all of a sudden my throat chakra stops working and I can't speak. So this is all just tapping into energies and just leaving it at that. There's not much you can do with that. It's not much, now I can talk about certain addresses and certain places to go to. And there is, underground. It does feel like there are underground civilizations, obviously. That I don't think there's civilizations underground that don't even know about us. I mean, they always, they know, but they don't know or don't care or raised not to care or that's just their life and this what we're living now or our world was destroyed or whatever, however you want to look at it. I believe there is some of that there somewhere, obviously. We probably will never know about that. Then again, you never know. It's hard to say. But to go into like where shadow energies are one place, obviously there's many China and Russia. Russia was when I first tapped into it. I just started thinking about breakaway civilizations. Basically like a shadow government, their own military, their own everything. Not this, it's not Russia, the Russian government, but the Russian territory. Like not even Russia knows about it in certain places. I believe like, I want to feel like Siberia, but might not be. Siberia might have too much attention actually. But I feel like Siberia has some energies there. I'm getting also Afghanistan, which not many here are taking vacations to Afghanistan. Even if you did, you would not know anyway. Iraq. So I'm just naming them off what I'm picking up on. So areas in Russia that Russia doesn't know about. Obviously, none of these countries are that familiar with it, or some might have some idea. I believe Russia knows somebody's there, but they don't know all the details of it. It's Afghanistan, Iraq. Obviously, there's going to be more obviously in India, but actually Afghanistan seems to have a strong energy there. Because you don't hear about that. You don't hear about Afghanistan in the news like ever anymore. And like I said, it's all underground. I mean, how would you know anyway? Well, how would you know about Russia anyway? I mean, there's like territories in Russia that are out in the middle of nowhere, things like that. But it's underground. And of course, they come above ground, every now and then. That's the energies I'm pulling in. So, they have like their own religion. It's not our religions. No, it's all their own. It's like these are the guys that created the Nazis. Let's put it that way. And that just helped their efforts as the Nazism continued. They're not. I guess I would say they're everything. They're fascist, communists, or everything. But they have their own. Yeah, it's mostly a mental. Um, they make sure. Well, they program each other. Well, there's different levels of it, of mind control. Obviously, our society has a lot of it, but even within these breakaway, shadow government, it's like there's always like departments, even like in corporations, your key can only go so far. It's kind of like that. Um, it's like Apple making an iPhone, you only have a certain key to go certain places, certain buildings, and you didn't know what you're working on anyway. Like you're working on a part, but you don't know what the full story is. Obviously, that's a lot of how the shadow government works. So that's what makes it so. Yeah, it's. I know it sounds strange, but then again, those of you that are tapping into this stuff, not surprised. And they do live among us too. Those that do live among us. Um, it's not clear exactly where. Obviously, the big city is Washington, is a major one. Yeah, and it's still it's a breakaway civilization, but there's still a good deal of them there. Obviously, they're controlling congressmen. Obviously, like they own half of Congress. It's a good portion of it. Mitch McConnell had a mental breakdown. I would say they have some influence there. Well, they keep them old just to keep them. So it has something to do with keeping the elderly in there. It's even elderly abuse, you can say. It's something about that where they can control them. Obviously, like Biden. So that's where the shadow government's involved with. Obviously like elections, they already have it pretty much figured out. But they do. I would say they change things last minute too, to screw each other over because they're also attacking each other too. Something like an episode in Dallas. I feel like they do. They have infighting. They do sabotage each other. It's like different groups within it. So it's not all perfect there. Well, like poisoning, killing each other, stuff like that, especially the poisoning side of it, which we would probably never hear about it. Of course, some people might get sick all of a sudden or some kind of, especially the government's like obviously a front for what's really going on, which is eerie. It'd be nice to see the full picture of it. Probably won't like what we see. Interesting. I do get a vibe of, like you say, alien remains, but I feel like reptilian alien remains. Like like a reptilian war on some level. So interesting. Other than that, fourth dimensional human trafficking. Obviously, some people that have dreams. Not obviously, but some people do have dreams, astral dreams of human trafficking, trying to heal it. It's difficult to connect to it physically. Obviously, it's not safe. Um, so it's more like a fourth dimensional connection. This also goes into the second part or third part of this insectoid um, energies that are involved with it, opening up portals, things like that. Once again, mind control on all different levels. I mean, it comes out on all. It all comes out of the mind control in the long run. It's like very sophisticated mind control. Help focus on this reality. Obviously, your problems, your daily work, job, and all of that, and trying to keep people in the slave realms. It's just not just the slave realm and the human trafficking, but slave realm in our dimension, just your economic slaves. Well, they don't like it when people are starting to open up their abilities, be able to connect more psychically to what's happening here. Obviously, it's like, go back and do your job, slave. And it does irritate that they still feel like there's no threat. They're obviously pretty arrogant about it until they start losing their power. But obviously, they have most of society under economic slavery. So there's really nothing to worry about there, technically. Spiritually, many are not there yet for various different reasons because they wanted to see it. They don't want to pick up on it energy wise. They want to see it, which is understood. So obviously, this is it's an advanced spiritual war, and it's coming at so many different directions. So we'll go into some more of the the breakaway civilizations to see if anything comes through. That's a tough one. Yeah, those that submitted ideas to ET Origins, I'll probably do that tomorrow. I've just been pulling into this stuff. So um, let's see here. Let's see what else we can go into. As I told comic pro sessions, schedule a shop here. Webinar, social network behind the scenes, archive. And I imagine many aren't really looking this up. Like I just finally started to look into it. Of course, I just go to Wikipedia. It's easier. Anyway, this is the Russian space. This is the Russian space. Secret space. I don't think it's secret, but it's. I don't know. It's weird getting information on this. Like, is it on? It's off. I believe it's still active. Sometimes you wonder about that, but they have these different, these different sites. They have 3 sites, which is interesting. Mostly the old. No, there's a current one going on. They have the old one. That's the old one, but they have a current one. But it just has 3 different. Yes, there's different spaceports, which is interesting. What kind of technically we have? What, 2 at least, or 3? I guess. I forget what the U.S. has. California, Houston, and Florida. So. But I don't think many people are aware of Russia and all their, because the U.S. used to go to Russia to go to the space station. In theory. It's all over the place. So obviously they're hiding a great deal. Yeah, this is, where they get funding, and they're still doing this stuff too, even with the war going on. So it's quite it's not as big as that's actually pretty, I don't know, they're pretty advanced though. They're just not going to let on to everything. So, I figured I'd share that a little bit. So just real quick. All right, going to breakaway civilizations, at least the mindset or sites. I don't know. India, places in India will be obviously remote areas. It'll be anywhere remote area. Obviously, some area, like obviously in the U.S., NASA, NSA, CIA, in FBI, energy. There's a link, there's a back door to all of it through all of this. So. Yeah, so we'll see what we get. So, all right, blessings. Greece, this is their consciousness of your shadow government, you can say, a version of it. You're looking more into your chakras. Basically, as you're clearing out any worry, there's nothing to worry about. It's just basically how far you want to go. It's kind of like remote viewing the energies here. Obviously, there's always going to be a blockage for obvious reasons because they don't want you to see the full picture. But basically, as you tap more, as many or more are tapping more into the astral realm, it becomes more part of your reality. That brings it more into the physical realms eventually. Such as like astral relationships. Not all are meant to be brought here in the physical. You can have several relationships at once, either like personal relationships or romantic relationships. You can sometimes bring those into the physical, like you meet somebody here in the physical, and it's little by little you connect astrally, and then physically you're not sure about each other. All of a sudden you have a relationship. Same thing goes with the alien energies too. And the shadow government energy doesn't want to reveal itself for obvious reasons. It feels like it's doing the right thing, even if it is psychotic, if it has lost its mind. But it has most of its power in the astral plane. Many of you actually seen, felt, went through, experienced even violence from them. Some of you made peace with them, which is good. Well, it's some want to control that or shut them down, which is kind of difficult because they are holding on to the chakras of the earth, you can say. Well, they're going by human ignorance. Humans don't, I mean, this secret society has been going on forever, so and they're going to continue that way. But let's put it this way: they always have a backup plan. If they start to be discovered, they just move. They don't go away completely. They just change locations, like underground base. They just move from there to somewhere else. It's very simple. Well, maybe not. And your government here doesn't really have enough firepower to get too involved with it because it can find itself in trouble. So it picks its fight. Does it get too involved with it? Not really. It's too busy being controlled by it. It goes through your aerospace companies. It goes through your aerospace companies into your main government. So your aerospace companies, that's where your shadow governments really are. And they kind of plug into your government and do their bit. Obviously, it's much deeper than that, but at least it's one version of it. And the government obviously is a puppet government on all throughout every, except for Russia. Russia does have like a real, that is real. Your government is the US, not so real. Well, it's like stage actors. I mean, they're doing their part, but obviously they can be easily replaced at the same time. So, and obviously society here is opening up to it to a certain level, but a lot of it comes with anger, still confusion, and it can't handle because the government energy that's here with shadow energy, it doesn't care what it does. Its sympathy does not exist. So if you can bear around an energy like that, no empathy at all, does not care. And some of you might not be able to handle that. Sometimes best not to have that interaction. So you know it exists, but if you get around it too much, yeah, you might get and some of them are very spiritually connected, maybe too connected. But they act practically, they can read your thoughts. They've been trained to do so. Like training remote viewers, trained magicians. And obviously it's not part of your society because they try to dumb it down as best they can. Because they don't want you doing what they're doing. They want you to be as ignorant as possible. But many of you are getting smart and they don't find you, they're not feel threatened by it. They still feel like they're more powerful, at least for now. I realize it's been going on for thousands of years. So, but if you're destined to get more answers on this, you will. So, blessings. Greens be the consciousness of the human trafficking frequency. Obviously, yes, this is a sensitive subject matter. Not to go too deep in it because it will make many feel uncomfortable. Of course, it is going around the world. It always will be until humanity starts to change its ways completely, which is difficult to do so. Obviously, it lowers the frequency of your reality. And some of you obviously are working on changing the frequency so it's a little bit lighter, but still it's hard to do that, as you can see. Well, it's it's pockets within the earth also where this is occurring. The slavery goes to other. I mean, it's energy. It goes into energy, even if they're not a physical being anymore. You can still be a slave in the astral plane. Was the lower astral and brought to other planets and kept there and enforced incarnations on other planets. And that's what some of you are feeling. So it goes, many are just focusing on their own lives now, not focusing too much on the human trafficking frequency. But obviously, those of you that are tapping into are involved with in some ways, and some of you might even have your own energy enslaved in the system also. And you're doing this, you're aware of it because you're there to break yourself out yourself. So that's why some of your interests is so why you know so much about it is because you're involved with it at one point or currently happening now. So it's not obviously for everybody, but it's just a deep root within society's energy. Well, basically, humanity has to let go of its old ways altogether. Basically, it's kind of like you kind of have to become a different society. Less, programs, yeah, unprogramming the program, which is one after the other, as you can see. Is like you go from one to the other, as some of you have noticed. And that's where the soul's at. It's not a bad thing, it's not judging, but just for sometimes the soul need to learn from there's different levels of mind control. Some of you are actually breaking out of it quite a bit. It's not that numbers not that high though. It's hard to take in. That's why I incarnate here many times to move up the levels so you can handle what's happening here and help heal the earth. Doesn't mean you have to incarnate all the time. But every once in a while you come in here to assist in some form. Yeah, no one's forcing you to do anything. Of course, some of you might feel like you're being forced. And there might be some connections there, of course. Well, some of those forced incarnations has to do with nothing else is working. Let's try Earth. So there's that. And some don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that knowledge of just, So sometimes you feel like you're being kept here for some bizarre reason. Yeah, a lot of inner growth. When you start realizing you're doing a lot of inner growth and you release the victim side of it and realize you're doing a lot of internal healing, it does help the healing go a lot faster. When you're always resisting and say, I'm not here for that, I'm a prisoner here, I need to get off this planet. It's the growth goes slower. That's just, greens, we have the insectoids. Well, of course, I assume you can see with the ant collective, it looks like a slave race there, which it is to a certain level. Some actually agree to it. Not all agree to it. But insectoid beings, yes, been doing this for beyond thousands of years on their planet. But yeah, so no pockets of you. There's basically insectoid beings, even animal, different animal species know this world very well. And even alien groups create like cult groups on your world to block portals, to block humans from it's like, why some of these spiritual cults are created is because while we see people advancing, we need someone to stop them from advancing. But then telling them that they are advancing when they're actually not advancing. So you get some spiritual guru that they plant here, which are many, not all of them, but there's quite a few. And some of you have noticed these groups already. And just, it's like they put in a wall. Like, wow, connected to my aliens, connected to all these different dimensions. And then there's somebody they're brainwashing the masses. Well, there's different levels of it, but it's there. Not all, I mean, obviously not everyone's involved with this. But it's basically stopping this. Well, it's slowing it down, not stopping it, but just a roadblock. It's like just when you think you're getting somewhere, and then there's a lot of mind control going on. The beings here know exactly what they're doing. And it's not just because humanity is weak or evil at one time, which it was. Well, humanity is still figuring itself out, realizing its power. It's basically realizing how to balance its energy. Like you're connecting more to your powers, but you're learning how to balance it where you use it properly. So many want just their telekinesis abilities to fly. And you might have a positive sense of it, but then someone makes you mad and you zap them with your mind or kill them or whatever. And you're back to the Atlantean times. So think of it, what you're doing is you're, think of trying to, get all society back on the level of maturity, where it's not on a self-destructive level. You're already seeing a self-destructive level already, and that's just in the physical realm. And you do have a lot of powers mentally. Think about letting all that go. Like the slums around your planet become nicer places, and just letting go of those programs. No more victimization, just releasing it all across your planet. And those what was a slum is now a healing portal, but a one where you're balanced, connect to your powers at higher dimensions, and you're not using it you're not weaponizing it. So this world just became just a humans here are just weapons in the past. It's so hard today. It's still pretty heavy. Well, it's just that this civilization was given a lot, and it didn't know what to do with it. It just too much too soon, you can say. So you're just individually connecting back to your powers, and sometimes it's better not to have your powers activated because many will come to you and want healings, what's this, want that, and a lot of times it's better just to keep it all shut down. If you know it's there, maybe just not in the physical realm. And some are being weaponized through ego, and they're not able to see it. Or they're told they know everything and everything. They're not seeing how they're being controlled in that way. Let's see.